where we left off last week, we have our poor sister Sabrina stressing. And can you blame her? Being in jail for something you didn't do. So Dani trying to console her, saying that, she knows what, was said on the recorder, but she knows that Maurice is going to do the right thing and come through. And she was like, how do you know? And she's trying to keep her positive, trying to keep her mind right. I feel so bad for Sabrina. And Dani, she's a ride or die. This is one of the sisters that has a good heart. And a lot of times they give her a hard way to go. But I think Dani is one of the realest ones. She keeps it real. And I know her heart is in the right place. And she keeps it honest. She keeps it 100 all the time. So she was really stressing over our sister in jail. So, she's just trying to keep her right. And there's no reason why she shouldn't be stressing over this. I just hope that, Q gets what he deserves because, it's definitely him that should be in here. So Dani's scared. She's stressing. And then all of a sudden she comes in and Sabrina is so happy to see Andi, thinking she's going to get something done with the prosecutor. And she was like, the way she rushed out of there brought more fear in Sabrina's head. She was like, we'll get you out of here. But they had to run out because, they wasn't in there on good pretenses. This was all just some help from Madam. She is not a criminal attorney. So the prosecutor could, bring charges up on her on that. So Sabrina left. And of course, going back to her cell, she was hurt and crying and scared. And I was about in tears for her. This was a serious scene right here. So now back at the house, Karen and, Aaron are enjoying dinner. And she's like, oh, this is good. They're talking and he's basically, telling him that, he's there for her. And she's talking about, what she has to do with going to the doctor. And they just having, their conversation like they usually do. And she's basically telling him, she doesn't need him. The girls are coming by because he's like, I definitely, will be there for you when you go. But she was like, no, she's good. And, she was just basically trying to let him know, regardless of how this goes, she never knew a man that would take care of, another man's child and be there for her if that's not the case. But he says, he's basically not any average man. And regardless of how this goes, because, he was so sure, oh, so the doctor going to tell you that's my baby. But he let her know however way it goes, he's still going to be there for her not to worry because he has her back. And, she should realize she really is lucky in this situation. So, how I feel. I'm hoping this is Aaron's child and not Zach. So we shall see. So he said, I'm going to get out your way and go and do the dishes. And then she called her girls to find out, like what's going on with Sabrina. So now they stressing and they realize, what's going to happen. Like, are you going to, is Robin going to be able to do anything? You need to do something with him and, give him some or whatever. Andi, like, I can't believe you asked me that. And she was like, well, whatever. I'm stressing. And our girl, like, you go take me to go get some weed or something because I need to smoke. She was like, I'm not going to take you to some marijuana facility. She was like, girl, I know you're not saying facility. Like, you ain't never smoked no weed. So she got even more stressed. Like, she is really, really agonizing over Sabrina being in the belly of the beast. And yeah, Sabrina is more fragile. She really can't, deal with it like that. Like any of the other girls would. So I could understand why she would be upset. So she's looking at Andi like, listen, you got to do something. Like, you sitting here acting like, you ain't never did anything with men before that may have been, wrong or out of the order. So you better find out a way to get our girl basically out of here because this stress level, I got to chew on these gummies since I ain't got no weed. So yeah, our girl is losing it. So we have Fatima and Zach talking. They at the house and, Zach's feeling a little bad because, Fatima got to be the bearer of bad news with the situation with Hayden and Heather. So he comes in like, what is it? I know this probably has to do with Karen. And, he really don't want to hear that because he feeling bad about that whole situation he got her in. But she's like, no, it's not really that. There's a lot more she wants to bring to him. And she says, no, this has to do with Heather. And she went to Hayden. He's like, oh my God. So I felt bad because Zach said, he got a good relationship now that he really loves, and he's at peace and it's not toxic, even though his girl's a little crazy. But he's like, I don't want to be that dude with, all of these babies and babies' mama. He don't want to bring that stress to himself. He just don't want to have that type of character and look upon himself. But this is the things you happen when you don't use protection and you out there having sex based on emotion, or you upset with your girlfriend. So, you got cheating ways and all that. And, that's what happened. So now you have this girl, Heather, who, saying it's a quote unquote positive DNA test, which I still don't trust with Hayden. And I want that to come out sooner or later. And I really think it will, that Zach is really not her baby's daddy. But Fatima is just letting her know, because he says, you're not bringing out the situation with the wedding. And, she said, you can whatever she loses, if she's married to him, it's going to be tied to him. And she don't want that kind of debt with, not having anything, because he got all this child support from these multiple baby mothers. And so she said, we need to wait this out and see what goes on before the situation with the wedding. But either way, I'm not going to leave you. She reassured him that, I love you and I'm going to have your back. Then he's like, Zach in Zach fashion. You smell that? She's like, what? Yeah, I don't smell it either. You got no food cooking. So he's like, yeah. So he puts his feet up because our sister got to go in there and cook her brother something to eat. So Aaron is here with Karen. With her, I guess, until her girls come. And then he rolls out. So they greet him at the door, and you see Karen is so excited to see her girls there. Excuse me, because the other scene, she was on the phone talking to them about the situation with the doctor. She didn't. I had mentioned that she was talking to them about Sabrina, but no, she didn't find out about Sabrina yet until this part. So, Aaron, see, Danny is telling him, she really want to smoke. And he was like, you can't do that. You got to think about the baby. And they was like, yeah, you're right. So she gives him a little hug and he leaves. So they sit down and Andy's talking to her. And she's like, well, where's Sabrina? I thought all of you was going to be over here. And Danny's like, you need to just come out and tell her. Danny don't want to beat around the bush. If they sisters and share things, be honest. And I know that she doesn't want to tell her because she probably doesn't want her to get, upset because of the baby situation. But it's not fair for her not to see Sabrina and think Sabrina's just mad at her. She just has to be calm, and you have to trust that, she'll handle herself accordingly when it comes to her emotions, so she won't bring any danger to the baby. But she was like, just come out with it. And she was like, Sabrina's locked up. And she's basically like, what? Karen's like, oh no, Sabrina can't handle jail. No. You got to do something, Andy. She's like, I'm going to do something. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of it. And she was like, well, there's a situation, Danny letting her know everything with with Robin. And he's upset with her. So she don't know how that's going to go. But Karen's like, you got to do something, Andy. Bottom line. So Andy gets a call and she goes out in the hall to talk to Robin. And Robin says he knows someone that may be able to do something. But, it's probably going to come with a heavy price. But he's going to try to pull some strings. And she's, putting on this cold air. And I'm like, girl, you were so googly over Robin before. Now you done got Gary sucked back in your life again. Because, you basically stigmatized by this man. And every time you guys go at it, it's like, come on, you don't know what to do. You lose it. So you treating him like crap, and he's the one that's trying to help you. So, she said, just help me. So in the meantime, Gary's calling her, and she's all cheesy now because she's happy. And he wants to see her because he's like losing it if he don't, you know how you men do. So she's excited because she said, well, when I get there, just be naked and laying in the bed. And of course, like any other man, he is super duper excited and happy to hear that. So she hangs up and goes back, I guess, to give the 411 to her girls. Now, back to the playground where Gary is playing ball, Zach is there. And of course, he ain't feeling Gary. He ain't feeling Aaron. But Lord have mercy, when he tells Aaron, you know, I don't want to play with you. And Aaron's like, you know, I'm not your enemy, bro. You know, there's no reason for us to be this way. In walks Hayden. Now, she may not want to play with Aaron, but he for damn sure don't want to play with Hayden. This Joker like, yeah, you know, I'm coming for you. I mean, Hayden is so grimy. He's like, I'm coming for you. He was like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, yeah. Basically, his baby mama, Heather, he's letting him know that he represents him. And, you know, Fatima already filled him in. Thank God she filled him in before he did, because he was ready to gloat. And, you know, Zach thinks he's a joke. You know, I already whooped your behind one time before. You evidently forgot that. And he was like, yeah, you know, you think you something now, but he wants to bring Zach down by any means necessary. That's why I know Heather wasn't too surprised of seeing Fatima and at the office when she ran into her. She was scheming, I think, from the door. Somehow Hayden found out about her, and somehow that test that Fatima did on the job, which personally she should not have done. She should have gotten that test done somewhere else and not on her job where Hayden is, because you can't trust it. You basically can't trust that. So we shall see. But anyway, they're going at it toe to toe, and Zach like, look, I'm not going to jail for you because I know that's what you want to see done. So basically just get out of my face, loser. So Aaron wants to talk to him again about how, you know, we brothers, bro. You know, don't be this way. There's a situation between us. You know, whether I'm the father or you the father, I want to be in Karen's life. If that's your baby, you know, I'm still going to be there. So, you know, let's not have bad blood between us. And Zach like, I don't want to like you. I don't want to like you. And he leaves and was like, bro, you know, open your heart, let some love in or something, Aaron told him. But it was funny. So now Andi comes back in, and Karen's looking at her like, what did you do? And he was like, you know, Aaron is going to try to do something. And she lets her know that Dani filled her in on the situation with Robin. What I don't like is just because Dani says something to Karen about the situation with Robin, or whether it was Gary. They know the situation with that already. But to throw in her face that she had this hot girl summer, and that this man spit in her face, and I'm not talking about the sexy kind when they say spit in my mouth or whatever, and ridiculing that violent abusive situation. I did not like that at all. I think Andi was wrong, and this is what I'm talking about with how they do Dani sometimes. I don't like it. I mean, they may be sisters and friends, but sometimes in that sister circle, there are issues. And I think Andi is one of those issues that can be toxic at times. She don't like people coming for her mistakes, but that was low down and grimy when she ridiculed her on what happened with the abuse. And Karen was really upset with that. Like, are you okay? That wasn't good. You know, this man is abusive. You see that he has a long track record of abusing women. Don't make fun of her on that. So put in the comments, how many of you felt the same way? Like, thought Andi was wrong for what she did with you know, just basically almost making a joke of that situation with Dani and that guy. So yeah, so they're talking and they basically getting ready to go. You know, they got to go to work, but they also, you know, want to see what they can do for Sabrina later, and they're going to meet up with Karen for the doctors. Okay, so we shall see where that goes. Now you have this tender scene. This is one of the best scenes that I liked. I think it was a very vulnerable scene as far as Dani is concerned. I think it shed light on really how she feels about Preston. He's there waiting for her. He flew back in, and she asked him basically, you know, did you ask old girl to marry you? And he said no. Now, he wanted to come in, and she said, no, we can talk out here. And I think that's a multitude of things. I think, number one, just her trying to play that tough role with Preston like she usually does. But I also think she feels uncomfortable in that house. And because of what happened with that man bringing Preston there makes her feel some kind of way. So I think she was really going through a lot of different conflicting emotions. But she told him here that she doesn't want to hurt him. And he really wanted to tell her, how much he cared for him. And, she cares for him as well. But she's scared. And Danny showed her vulnerability. And she was nice. She didn't argue. She didn't get, too slick. She was calm. She really wanted to, I think, see what the situation was with him and that girl and where they stand. And he told her, Preston said, don't worry about all these different things that she has questions on. I know there's the race issue, understanding her, not having to explain what we go through as Black people. That whole dynamic, I get it. But then at the same time, he said, take your time. We would deal with one issue at a time. We'll meet it when it comes. But let us just, love each other, get to know each other, and be there for one another. And just basically take it one day at a time. Don't worry about hurting me. I'm a big boy. I can handle myself. You know that. But she's just nervous and getting to a serious situation. And I don't think she ever felt this way for someone that can really go to this level. So I'm really rooting for Danny and Preston. He took her hand and said, come on, let's go in the house. And she said, okay. And the way they just walked, like, two children on the playground. I mean, it was just so sweet how they held hands and went in the house. So I just thought that was a really tender moment. So now, of course, Karen is on the phone, getting on Pam as always, on making sure she's doing what she's supposed to do, because she knows Pam, and Pam sometimes, can get a little out of hand. And she was right, because she had a man there with her. And she was like, I'm not a child. I got this, girl. I got it. But, Karen's stressing because that's her baby. That's her business. She's not there. She's never been gone that long. And she just basically checked her and told her, you better not be doing nothing with that man in there. And so they call themselves locking the place up. But as you see, she left the curlers or the flat iron or something on. So Karen did have a reason to question whether Pam was going, have everything in order. So now Aaron comes back and Karen tells him, I need to go to the shop. I got this feeling. I got to go check and make sure Pam has everything all right. And he's like, don't worry about it. Relax. I'm going to give you a massage. Don't go. She says she has it. She has it. After, you take a bath or whatever and relax and I massage you. If you still feeling that way, I will go myself and make sure everything's okay. So she agreed. Now, here we go. Andi coming in the house, I guess, ready for old boy to be naked in the bed, waiting for her. Nice and ready. Ready, Freddy. But she is in for a rude awakening because my man is not naked and waiting for her in the bed. He is up on the couch looking some kind of way. So she was like, you ready for me? And he's like, not quite, boo. Not quite. So she turns around and who is there? Robin. I thought about in season 4 with that nightmare Andi had with Robin and some woman and Gary and that whole threesome situation. I'm like, that's not about to go down. Is your dream about to be true, Andi? Or nightmare, shall I say? What do they have planned? Why is Robin there? Why did Gary let him in your house? That is top level disrespect and such an awkward situation to be in. So is Andi and Danny getting our girl out? What is the deal? I hope our girl is coming home. What is the situation with Robin being there with Gary, and what will the verdict be when it comes to who is the daddy? We shall see on the next episode. Stay tuned, family. Until next time, peace and love.